Hey guys, welcome back. I'm really excited today because I have a special guest who's going to talk to us about the field of meteorology. So let's go ahead and get started.
Have a special guest this week who's going to talk to you a little bit about his profession and why he's excited about this content that we were talking about. So I will let him introduce himself.
Hello, everybody. I'm John Banghoff. Mrs. Kilbane and myself, we were in band together at The Ohio State University, and I saw she posted something about clouds, and as a meteorologist, I was like, hey, this is awesome, and then it turned into an interview. I work at the National Weather Service, which is the federal government organization responsible for issuing watches, warnings, advisories. If you ever get like a severe thunderstorm warning or tornado warning for your area, we're the ones that are issuing that. I happen to work at the office that covers central Pennsylvania. There's actually multiple offices in North Carolina that does the same job that I do, just on a local scale. There's 122 offices across the country. And I have been working at the National Weather Service and State College for about coming up on 2.5 years or so now. I got my master's from Penn State in meteorology, and before that I got my undergraduate bachelor's of science in meteorology from the Ohio State University. And so it's been a whole lot of fun. I'm thrilled to be here with you guys today.
Okay, and we are thrilled that you're here to talk to us. When do you think that you started to get into this field and that this area of science really started to interest you?
That is a wonderful question. So I think meteorology, or the study of weather, is one of the unique fields in that most people have an interest in it from a really young age. For me, I was 8 years old. My family would go on camping trips every summer. We had a pop-up camper. There were 10 or 12 families from our church. We'd all caravan to a given campground multiple times during the summer. And I remember that summer when I was 8 years old, there were a couple different weekends when we were under an active tornado warning. So we're in pop-up campers, not safe at all to be in during a tornado. And I remember all of us running to the bathhouse to seek shelter and looking up and seeing the clouds swirl. And I think from that point forward, I was hooked. And I was like, man, I really want to do this. As I was growing up, I really was interested in broadcast meteorology. So being on TV, the local weatherman in Columbus was a guy that I admired a lot. I wanted to be like him when I grew up. And that sort of further blossomed as I got into my education up into high school, and then even into college, learning about math and science, which is really important for meteorology. And the rest is history. So it's been a long time that I've wanted to do this, and it's fun to be living my dream.
Awesome. So in class, we talk a lot about direct measurements that we can take just by walking outside, the temperature and wind speed and things like that. So what types of tools do you guys use to monitor these situations in the atmosphere?
At the National Weather Service, our main role is doing forecasting, right? And then communicating with people about what's going to happen with the weather. So what you guys have been talking about is the observation phase, the beginning where you're basically collecting what's happening in the atmosphere right now. And so we can do that with things like anemometers, right? Thermometers, things that you guys have probably dealt with. But then we also have what are called remote sensing tools. So satellite, you guys may have seen pictures from a satellite of the clouds of the United States, of the world. We have those that are taking video, or basically pictures of the globe all the time. That helps us to monitor things like hurricanes, if there's thunderstorms happening, things like that. A little more closer to the surface, we have things that are called weather surveillance radars. You guys may have seen that when you see on TV, the greens, the yellows, the oranges, the reds. That's basically radar that's detecting if there's anything in the sky, generally precipitation. So we're going to be using radar that tells us what's in the atmosphere, maybe which direction it's moving, how fast it's moving. That's what we use kind of in the short term. And then beyond that, so that's the observation phase. We're also tasked with forecasting, so predicting what's going to happen tomorrow, the next day, even 7 to 10 days out. And the way that we do that is with what's called weather models. So with a weather model, it's all dictated by a lot of equations, a whole bunch of different stuff that can be somewhat complicated, but we start with what's happening right now, and then we move forward in time based on the way that we think the atmosphere is going to work. And weather models are these big systems of equations and computers that feed everything through and then move forward in time and give us an idea what's going to happen in the future. Now, you can kind of tune these models to do different things and to focus on different areas, and they're going to come out with some very different outputs. So maybe one model thinks tomorrow it's going to be 85 and sunny. Maybe another thinks it's going to be, say, 79 and partly cloudy, right? So we're going to look at all the different models, and we're going to then make a decision based on our knowledge and our experience to say, you know what, I think it's probably going to be 82 with mostly sunny skies tomorrow, something like that. And so there's a whole bunch of different tools that I can't even begin to go over, but those are just a few of them that I particularly like.
So I'm kind of realizing that your job really has two really big aspects, more than just the predicting and the reading of all those models and everything. You also have to know how to effectively communicate this information with the public. So what type of training or things have you gone through to be able to effectively communicate that with the public?
So let me sort of preface by saying the field of meteorology has changed quite a bit. Back probably 10, 20 years ago, it was just be really good at science, make really good forecasts, and you're done, right? I can put together a 7-day forecast. It's great. That's all there is. Now, as people have phone apps, we have to maintain relevancy, and the value that we have as meteorologists is to communicate the information. So over the course of my career, I have spent a ton of time focusing on public speaking. So in college, taking public speaking courses, even in high school, I encourage you guys to get involved with opportunities where you can get in front of other people and talk. Because as what I do, I have to be a good scientist, but I also have to be able to communicate concisely. If somebody asks me a question about what's going to happen with the weather, they don't want to hear a bunch of hubbub. They don't want to hear all kinds of technical terms like vorticity and phronogenesis and all this stuff. They want to hear what's going to happen and how's it going to affect me? What's the decision I have to make? And so more and more, and I think this goes for a lot of science fields, not only do you have to be a good scientist, but you also have to be a good communicator. And that's an interesting balance to keep. But there's plenty of opportunities out there, and a lot of educations, if you guys are planning to go to college, will focus on sort of the mix between science and communication.
Kind of going off of that, in your own words, why do we need to understand all of this? Why does it matter? Why do we need this information other than I can just look out the window and say, well, it's not raining, so I don't need an umbrella today. So why do we need to know this stuff?
Yep, there's a couple ways to answer this. I think the first thing is individually, we care how we're going to deal with the day today, right? So when you get up in the morning, what should I wear today, right? Do I need an umbrella? Do I need a jacket? Do I need boots? Like, what do I need to wear? And what we want to do as meteorologists is we want to do that right. There's nothing more frustrating than looking at your weather app. By the way, let me give a little caveat. Most of the time, weather apps do not involve any humans. So if your weather app is wrong, please do me a favor and don't blame meteorologists, okay? Because me, as a meteorologist, I'm putting effort in. I can't control the apps. Anyways, that's a soapbox and a sidebar. But so the first thing is what's going to happen today. The other thing is it affects a lot of the way that we operate, okay? So it affects things like big events. In the pre-COVID times when people would be gathering, say, for a NASCAR race or a sporting event, if there's lightning in the area, so thunderstorms, that's hazardous to people. And so we as meteorologists have a role to support emergency managers and event planners to make sure that they are keeping the people safe that are at those activities. The other thing are bigger events. You guys in North Carolina are very familiar with hurricanes, right? So it's really important where the storm is going to go, how strong it's going to be, how quickly it's going to be moving, so you can figure out, okay, what's the storm surge going to be? How strong are the winds going to be? How much rain is going to fall? Are there going to be tornadoes? Those are all things that really affect your everyday life. So there's the everyday life stuff like, what am I going to wear? But then there's the higher risk things like what areas need to be evacuated? How much money needs to be set aside to be able to deal with the rebuilding process? Those sorts of things all are affected by weather. And that's one of the things that I love so much is you can small talk with people about weather all the time. And when people try to small talk the weather with me, I'm like, all right, we're going deep now. Like, let's talk about some real stuff. There's also, again, there's a lot of money, billion-dollar disasters almost every single year, whether it's hail or hurricanes or flooding or whatever it might be. Weather really affects a whole bunch of stuff. And as things are getting more extreme, right, there's a lot more extremes with weather that's happening. It's becoming more and more important to have meteorologists that can hopefully accurately predict it and then communicate it well to the public.
I think that that's all the questions that I have. We really appreciate you coming on and talking with us about this stuff. It's so awesome to get to talk to a professional and hear from your side the types of things that you get to deal with every day.
Thank you so much for having me. If you guys are interested at all in meteorology, don't hesitate to reach out. I'd be happy to share my contact information with you guys and talk further. So thanks so much, guys. Enjoy the rest of your school year, and we'll be in touch soon.
Well, there you go. I hope you guys enjoyed getting to listen to meteorologist John Banghoff talk about his profession as much as I enjoyed getting to talk to him about it. I'll see you guys next week.